All right, per your request, here is the Wife of Bath's Tale. We'll do the reading and the analysis on the fly, and hopefully that'll help you out. You remember the Wife of Bath is a bit of a diva. If you remember from the prologue, she's always got to be first, always got to get the recognition, very fancy, wealthy. She's had, I believe, 6 husbands so far, has outlived them all, and is now cruising for another one on the pilgrimage. And so she comes to us as an expert in love and relationships. So keep that in mind. Bit of a diva, all about herself, and our expert on love. So anyway, here we go. This is the prologue, the Wife of Bath just speaking to the group before she launches into the tale. The partner started up, and thereupon, "Madame," he said, "by God and by St. John, that's noble preaching no one could surpass. I was about to take a wife, alas! Am I to buy it on my flesh so dear? There'll be no marrying from me this year." "You wait," she said, "my story's not begun. You'll taste another brew before I've done. You'll find it doesn't taste as good as ale, and when I've finished telling you my tale of tribulation in the married life, in which I've been an expert as a wife, that is to say, myself have been the whip. So please yourself whether you want to sip at the same cask of marriage I shall broach. Be cautious before making the approach, for I'll give instances in more than 10, and those who won't be warned by other men shall suffer their correction. So Ptolemy has said, in this connection. You read his Almagest, you'll find it here. Or find it there, rather. Anyways, the Wife of Bath is, at this point, comparing marriage to alcohol. Talking about you want to sip at the same cask of marriage. Alright, why? What does alcohol have to do with marriage? Take a moment, ponder. Maybe it's all good at the beginning. You feel elated and joyful, and then later it's nothing but headaches and nausea. I don't know, take it where you want. But anyway, that's the connection that she makes, having had several husbands previously. Back to it. "Madame, I put it to you as a prayer," the partner said. "Go on as you began. Tell us your tale, spare not for any man. Instruct us younger men in your technique." "Gladly," she said, "if you will let me speak. But still I hope the company won't reprove me. Though I should speak as fantasy may move me. And please don't be offended at my views. They're really only offered to amuse." Alright, so here's the tale. She's ready to go. So we said she just wants to be the center of attention. Just let her speak. And she doesn't take herself too seriously here. Just trying to amuse some folks while still dropping some knowledge. Anyway, here's the tale. When good King Arthur ruled in ancient days, a king that every Briton loves to praise, this was a land brimful of fairy folk. The elf queen and her courtiers joined and broke their elfin dance on many a green mead. Or so is the opinion once, I read. Hundreds of years ago in days of yore. But no one now sees fairies any more. For now the saintly charity and prayer of holy friars seems to have purged the air. They search the countryside through field and stream, as thick as motes that speckle a sunbeam, blessing the halls, the chambers, kitchens, bowers, cities and boroughs, castles, courts and towers, thorps, barns and stables, outhouses and dairies. And that's the reason why there are no fairies. Alright, so the tale takes place way back in the day, in a time of magic and fairies and magical creatures. At the time of the telling, all that stuff is gone, and all the mystical creatures have been replaced by friars and the church. So that's where we are. Wherever there was wont to walk an elf, today there walks the holy friar himself, as evening falls or when the daylight springs, saying his matins and his holy things, walking his limit round from town to town. Women can now go safely up and down, by every bush or under every tree. There is no other incubus but he. So there is really no one else to hurt you, and he will do no more than take your virtue. Which is ironic. Generally you think these friars, church leaders, holy, honorable, noble folks. Here, not so much. It seems that they are just wandering the land looking for women to take advantage of. An incubus is a demon that sort of slips in while someone is sleeping and then sexually assaults them. So to compare the friars to an incubus, it's a pretty strong shot against the church. So, carrying on. "Now it so happened," I began to say, "long, long ago in good King Arthur's day, there was a knight who was a lusty liver. One day as he came riding from the river, he saw a maiden walking all forlorn ahead of him, alone as she was born. And of that maiden, spite of all she said, by very force he took her maidenhead." And this is where the story really starts. We got a knight who we would expect would be, again, honorable, noble, chivalrous, defender of all that is right. In this case, the knight is a rapist. He sees this girl naked along the stream, I believe it was a stream, yeah, by the river, and he assaults her, takes her virginity by force, and that is where the story starts with the crime of rape. This act of violence made such a stir, so much petitioning to the king for her, that he condemned the knight to lose his head. By course of law he was as good as dead. It seems that then the statutes took that view, but that the queen and other ladies too implored the king to exercise his grace. So ceaselessly he gave the queen the case, and granted her his life, as she could choose whether to show him mercy or refuse. Alright, so we get the irony here. The knight is arrested and he is sentenced to death. Rape is a crime of power, right? Is the man exerting his power, his will, over the woman against her will. Now the tables have turned. The knight has been sentenced to death, but now it is the queen who ultimately is going to decide what happens to this knight. So his crime is taking power over a woman, and now, ironically enough, his punishment is going to be decided by a woman who has all the power in the situation. Keep an eye on that dynamic in terms of power and men versus women. The queen returned him thanks with all her might, and then she sent a summons to the knight, at her convenience, and expressed her will. You stand, for such is the position, still in no way certain of your life, said she. Yet you shall live if you can answer me. What is the thing that women most desire? Beware the axe, and say as I require. If you can't answer on the moment, though, I will concede you this. You are to go a 12-month and a day to seek and learn sufficient answer. Then you shall return. I shall take gages from you to extort surrender of your body to the court. So sad was the knight, and sorrowfully sighed. But there, all other choices were denied, and in the end he chose to go away, and to return after a year and day, armed with such answer that there might be sent to him by God. He took his leave and went. Right, so here's the dynamic. The queen, again having the power in this, will spare his life if the knight can tell her what it is all women most desire. He has a year and a day to figure this out, and she's going to trust that he will go conduct whatever research he needs to, and then come back, and she trusts him based on his honor as a knight, which seems ironic that he's a rapist, but nevertheless, she trusts him, so he has a year and a day to figure out what is it all women most desire. That's his job. Let's see if he can do it. Sad was the knight, and sorrowfully sighed, but there, all other choices were denied, and in the end he chose to go away, and to return after a year and day. Armed with such answer as there might be sent to him by God, he took his leave and went. He knocked at every house, searched every place, yes, anywhere that offered hope of grace, or what could it be that women wanted most? But all the same, he never touched a coast, country, or town in which there seemed to be any two people willing to agree. Some said that women wanted wealth and treasure. Honor, said some, jollity and pleasure. Some gorgeous clothes, and others fun in bed. To be oft widowed and remarried, said others again. And some that what most mattered was that we should be cosseted and flattered. That's very near the truth, it seems to me. A man can win us best with flattery. To dance attendance on us, make a fuss, and snares us all, the best and worst of us. So the problem the knight runs into is that women are not a monolith. They are individuals. So one woman may want wealth, another may want power, another may want sex, another may want clothes. Wife of Bath tends to think that women want to be flattered, to told they're fantastic and beautiful. Nevertheless, this is the knight's problem. He's got to figure out what all women most desire to save his life. And unfortunately, as women are individuals, they each want different things. So, problematic. Some say the things we most desire are these. Freedom to do exactly as we please, with no one to reprove our faults and lies, rather to have one call us good and wise. Truly there's not a woman in 10 score who has a fault, and someone rubs the sore, but she will kick if what he says is true. You try it out, and you will find so too. However vicious we may be within, we like to be thought wise and void of sin. Others assert we women find it sweet, when we are thought dependable, discreet, and secret, firm of purpose and controlled, never betraying things that we are told. But that's not worth the handle of a rake. Woman conceal a thing for heaven's sake. Remember Midas. Will you hear the tale? Alright, so at this point, we're just going off on a total tangent here. Wife of Bath has said that women want to be thought that they are honorable and can keep secrets. She says that's just not true, and now this little aside is going to illustrate that point. Among some other little things now stale, Ovid relates that under his long hair, the unhappy Midas grew a splendid pair of ass's ears. As subtly as he might, he kept his foul deformity from sight. Save for his wife, there was not one that knew. He loved her best and trusted in her too. He begged her not to tell a living creature that he possessed so horrible a feature. And she swore all the world to win she would not do such villainy and sin as saddle her husband with so foul a name. Besides, to speak would be to share the shame. Nevertheless, she thought she would have died keeping this secret bottled up inside. It seemed to swell her heart, and she, no doubt, thought it was on the point of bursting out. So, King Midas, he's got donkey ears, right? It's his great shame. The only one who knows is his wife. She's got to keep his secret, and it is killing her to keep this secret. Fearing to speak of it to woman or man, down to a reedy marsh she quickly ran, and reached the sedge. Her heart was all on fire, and as a bittern bumbles in the mire, she whispered to the water near the ground, "Betray me not, O water, with thy sound. To thee alone I tell it. It appears my husband has a pair of ass's ears. My heart's well again, the secret's out. I could no longer keep it, not a doubt. And so you see, although we may hold fast a little while, it must come out at last. We can't keep secrets. As for Midas, well, read Ovid for his story. He will tell." So she has to tell the secret, otherwise she'll explode, so she whispers it down by the edge of the river. She's able to tell the secret, but nobody hears the secret. So everybody wins, random aside, done. This knight that I'm telling you about perceived at last he never would find out what it could be that women love the best. Faint was the soul within his sorrowful breast. As home he went, he dared no longer stay. His year was up, and now it was the day. As he rode home in a dejected mood, suddenly at the margin of a wood, he saw a dance upon a leafy floor of 24 ladies, nay, and more. Eagerly he approached and hoped to learn some words of wisdom ere he should return. But lo, before he came to where they were, dancers and dance all vanished into air. There wasn't a living creature to be seen, save one old woman crouched upon the green. A fouler-looking creature, I suppose, could scarcely be imagined. She arose and said, "Sir Knight, there's no way on from here. Tell me what you're looking for, my dear, for peradventure that were best for you. We old women know a thing or two." Alright, so basically the knight's time is up. It's been a year. He's got to return to the queen and answer. Unfortunately, he has no answer. So as he's riding back, he sees these 24 dancing women off on the side of the road, and he thinks, last chance. I gotta ask him. Potentially has other ideas. Let's just say he wants to ask them what the answer is. What is it all women most desire? Then suddenly, those 24 dancing women turn into this one shriveled little old lady. All right? Remember, this is a time of fairies and magic and mysticism, so it seems we've got some sort of witch. If Macbeth has taught us anything, should we trust the random shriveled little old ladies we find on the side of the road? Probably not. But the guy's going to die tomorrow. Does he have anything to lose? Not really. So here we are. "Dear mother," said the knight, "alack the day! I am as good as dead if I can't say what thing it is that women most desire. If you could tell me, I would pay your hire." "Give me your hand," she said, "and swear to do whatever I shall next require of you. If so to do should lie within your might, and you shall know the answer before night." "Upon my honor," he answered, "I agree." "Then," said the crone, "I dare to guarantee your life is safe. I shall make good my claim. Upon my life the queen will say the same. Show me the very proudest of them all, in costly coverchief or jeweled call, that dare say no to what I have to teach. Let us go forward without further speech." And then she crooned her gospel in his ear, and told him to be glad and not to fear. So she says she has the answer. She can save his life. But he has to agree to do whatever it is she wants. No limits, whatever she asks. She saved his life. He has to do it. So that's the deal he's made. Let's see how it goes. They came to court this night in full array, stood forth and said, "O queen, I've kept my day, and kept my word, and had my answer ready." There sat the noble matrons, and the heady young girls and widows too, that have the grace of wisdom, all assembled in that place. And there the queen herself was thrown to hear and judge his answer. Then the knight drew near, and silence was commanded through the hall. The queen gave order he should tell them all what thing it was that women wanted most. He stood not silent like a beast or post, but gave his answer with a ringing word, of a man's voice, and the assembly heard. "My liege and lady in general," said he, "a woman wants the self-same sovereignty over her husband as over her lover, and master him. He must not be above her. That is your greatest wish. Whether you kill or spare me, please yourself. I wait your will." So there's the answer. Women most desire power in a relationship. If not equality, power over their husbands and lovers. According to the little lady, and now the knight, that is what women most desire, power in a relationship. In all the court, not one that shook her head or contradicted what the knight had said. Maid, wife, and widow cried, "He saved his life!" And on the word up started the old wife, the one the knight saw sitting on the green, and cried, Your mercy, sovereign lady queen, before the court disperses, do me right. 'Twas I who taught this answer to the knight, for which he swore and pledged his honour to it, that the first thing I asked of him, he'd do it, so far as it should lie within his might. Before this court I ask you then, Sir Knight, to keep your word, and take me for your wife, for well you know that I have saved your life. If this be false, deny it on your sword. And there's the ask. All right, she saved his life, and now she wants him to marry her. Little old lady wants the knight to marry her because she's now saved his life, and that was the deal he made. He's got to do whatever she asks. She wants marriage. Alas, he said, O lady, by the Lord, I know indeed that such was my behest, but for God's love, think of a new request. Take all my goods, but leave my body free. A curse on us, she said, if I agree. I may be foul, I may be poor and old, yet will not choose to be, for all the gold that's bedded in the earth or lies above, less than your wife, nay, than your very love. My love, said he? By heaven, my damnation! Alas, that any of my race and station should ever make so foul a misalliance. Yet in the end his pleading and defiance all went for nothing. He was forced to wed. He takes his ancient wife and goes to bed. All right, so he's definitely not happy about this. She's old, she's ugly, she's low class. He is a knight in the prime of his youth. He is not happy about it, but deal's a deal, so here we are. Now peradventure some may well suspect a lack of care in me, since I neglect to tell of the rejoicings and display made at the feast upon their wedding day. I have but a short answer to let fall. I say there was no joy or feast at all. Nothing but heaviness of heart and sorrow. He married her in private on the morrow, and all day long stayed hidden like an owl. It was so torture that his wife looked foul. Great was the anguish churning in his head when he and she were piloted to bed. He wallowed back and forth in desperate style. His ancient wife lay smiling all the while. At last, she said, Bless us! Is this, my dear, how knights and wives get on together here? Are these the laws of good King Arthur's house? Are knights of his so contemptuous? I am your own beloved and your wife, and I am she indeed that saved your life. And certainly I never did you wrong. Then why this first of night so sad a song? You're carrying on as if you were half-witted. Say, for God's love, what sin have I committed? I'll put things right, if you will tell me how. So they get married. He's miserable about it. He hides inside all day. There's no festivities. It's just, And then the wedding night, they are consummating the relationship. He is absolutely not into it, which prompts her to basically say, hey, dude, bring your A game. I saved your life. I'm your wife now. Show some effort. And she then puts it to him, hey, tell me what's wrong, and maybe I can fix it. Put right, he cried? That never can be now. Nothing can ever be put right again. You're old and so abominably plain, so poor to start with, so low bred to follow. It's little wonder if I twist and wallow. God, that my heart would burst within my breast. Is that, said she, the cause of your unrest? Yes, certainly, said, and can you wonder? I could set right what you suppose a blunder. That's if I cared to in a day or two, if I were shown more courtesy by you. All right, she says, it is in my power to fix your concerns. You're worried that I'm too old. You're worried that I'm too ugly. You're worried that I'm too low class. I can address those things if I want. So those are the concerns. Let's see how she handles things. Just now, she said, you spoke of gentle birth, such as descends from ancient wealth and worth. If that's the claim you make for gentlemen, such arrogance is hardly worth a hen. Whoever loves to work for virtuous ends, public and private, and who most intends to do what deeds of gentleness he can, take him to be the greatest gentleman. Christ wills we take all gentleness from him, not from a wealth of ancestry long dim. Though they bequeath their whole establishment by which we claim to be of high descent, our fathers cannot make us a bequest of all those virtues that became them best, and earn for them the name of gentlemen, but bade us follow them as best we can. She says, all right, you're claiming that you're a gentleman and I'm low class. She fires back with, who cares? All right, it's not who your father was. It's not your lineage. It's about what you do. What you do, the choices you make, the actions you take in life, that determines whether you are a good person or a bad person, a gentleman or a scoundrel. So don't come at me saying you're high class when you're a rapist. Thus, the wise poet of the Florentines, Dante by name, has written in these lines, for such is the opinion Dante launches, Seldom arises by these slender branches prowess of men, for it is God no less wills us to claim of him our gentleness. For of our parents nothing can we claim, save temporal things, and these may hurt and maim. But everyone knows this as well as I, for if gentility were implanted by the natural course of lineage down the line, public or private, could it cease to shine in doing the fair work of gentle deed? No vice or villainy could then bear seed. All right, so she's continuing on with the same line of thought. You take your gentleness from God, right? If you do good things, if you follow God's teachings, then you're a gentleman, you're a good person. Doesn't matter at that point who your family is. She makes the argument, if you got your goodness from your family, then there's no opportunity for sin to come into it, because everyone's just going to be good down the line. She says it's what we do with our daily lives, the choices we make that make us good or not. And now we've got another metaphor to help drive that home. Take fire and carry it to the darkest house, between this kingdom and the caucus house, and shut the doors on it and leave it there. It will burn on, and it will burn as fair as if 10,000 men were there to see. For fire will keep its nature and degree, I can assure you, sir, until it dies. So we look at fire as this sort of constant thing, right? You put a fire there, it's not going to change. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are around it. Fire's just gonna fire. But gentleness, as you will recognize, is not annexed in nature to possessions. Men fail in living up to their professions, but fire never ceases to be fire. God knows you'll often find, if you inquire, some lordling full of villainy and shame. If you would be esteemed for the mere name of having been by birth a gentleman, and stemming from some virtuous noble clan, and do not live yourself by gentle deed, or take your father's noble code and creed. You are no gentleman, though duke or earl. Vice and bad manners are what make a churl. Right? So while the fire is always going to be fire, regardless of what's going on, people are not the same. Different circumstances, people might make different choices. So even that person who had a outstanding family, great father, they can make bad choices and then live a dirtbag life. Alternatively, father could be a dirtbag, but the kid can make excellent choices and go on to be an awesome person, right? So people are different from fire, right? Fire, it's just going to fire. Next generation, it's still just fire. People, though, it's not about nature, who you are. It's about the choices you make throughout your life. That makes you a gentleman or a dirtbag. So says the little lady. Gentility is only the renown for bounty that your fathers handed down, quite foreign to your person, not your own. Gentility can come from God alone. That we are gentle comes to us by grace, and by no means is it bequeathed with place. Reflect how noble, said Valerius, was Tullius, surnamed Hostilius, who rose from poverty to nobleness, and rid Boethius, Seneca no less. Thus they express themselves and are agreed. Gentle is he that does a gentle deed. And therefore, my dear husband, I conclude that even if my ancestors were rude, yet God on high, and so I hope he will, can grant me grace to live in virtue still. A gentlewoman only when beginning to live in virtue and to shrink from sinning. All right, so he complained, he's high class, she's low class. She says it's all about what we do. You're a rapist, I'm a good person, so don't tell me you're high class, and I'm not. Carrying on. As for my poverty, which you approve, Almighty God himself, in whom we move, believe, and have our being, chose a life of poverty, and every man or wife, nay, every child can see our heavenly King, would never stoop to choose a shameful thing. No shame in poverty if the heart is gay, as Seneca and all the learned say. He who accepts his poverty unhurt, I'd say is rich, although he lacked a shirt. But truly poor are they who whine and fret, and covet what they cannot hope to get. And he that having nothing covets not, is rich, though you may think he is a sot. So the knight also complains that she's poor. She says, what's wrong with that? Jesus was poor. You're going to say Jesus had it wrong? Then she goes on to say that poverty, it's about your mindset, right? Regardless of the size of your bank account, if you're content, you're a wealthy person. You could be a billionaire, but if you're always chasing that next dollar and never satisfied by the riches, then you're poor, despite the billions in the bank account. So it's all about mindset, according to the Wife of Bath. All right, there's nothing wrong with being poor. It worked for Jesus. And it's all about mindset. So again, get over yourself, knight. We're married now. True poverty can find a song to sing. Juvenal says a pleasant little thing. The poor can dance and sing in the relief of having nothing that will tempt a thief. Though it be hateful, poverty is good, a great incentive to a livelihood, and a great help to our capacity for wisdom, if accepted patiently. Poverty is, though wanting in estate, a kind of wealth that none culminate. Poverty often, when the heart is lowly, brings one to God and teaches what is holy, gives knowledge of oneself, and even lends a glass by which to see one's truest friends. And since it's no offense, let me be plain. Do not rebuke my poverty again. All right, and poverty can actually be a positive thing, she says. If you're poor, you don't have a lot of stuff to tempt people to rob you. So if you're walking around with a brand new iPhone, that thing might get swiped. If you're walking around with a 10-year-old iPhone held together with, tape, you're probably going to be okay with that. All right, so if you don't have a lot of wealth, you don't have to worry about getting robbed. Also inspires you to work hard, right? If you're rich, you can be lazy. But if you got to scuffle for every dollar, you got to keep scuffling. You got to keep going. It inspires work ethic. Plus, it helps bring you to God. You can be more humble without the riches. You can focus on more of the important things like faith. And it also gives you a chance to see who your true friends are. If you're rich, there's always going to be that nagging doubt in the back of your head. Maybe these people are with me just because of the stuff I can provide for them, the experiences I can provide for them. But if you're poor, then you know your friends are there for who you are, not for what you can provide for them, because if you're poor, you can't really provide them with a lot. So, doesn't matter that she's poor, knight, get over yourself. Lastly, you tax me, sir, with being old. Yet even if you never had been told by ancient books, you gentlemen engage yourselves in honor to respect old age. To call an old man father shows good breeding, and this could be supported from my reading. All right, and you say I'm old? What's wrong with that? Honor the elderly. We've got wisdom, we've got experience. So again, get over yourself. You say I'm old and fouler than a fen. You need not fear to be a cuckold then. Filth and old age, I'm sure you will agree, are powerful wardens over chastity. Nevertheless, well knowing your delights, I shall fulfill your worldly appetites. All right, another benefit of being old and shriveled, she's going to be faithful. All right, she's not going to have people coming over all the time just to check in on her, see how she's doing. Right? He doesn't have to worry about that. He's going to have a faithful wife moving forward. But here we go. You have two choices. Which one will you try? To have me old and ugly till I die, but still a loyal, true, and humble wife that never will displease you all her life? Or would you rather I were young and pretty and chance your arm what happens in a city, where friends will visit you because of me? Yes, and in other places too, maybe. Which would you have? The choice is all your own. So she says, you got problems with all these things? I can fix it for you. But she gives him the choice, right? So two choices. Either A, she could stay as she is, old, shriveled, wrinkly, but a completely faithful and loving wife. Or two, she could become absolutely smoking hot, but then she'll cheat on him all over town, and guys will be coming by the house all the time. I need a cup of sugar. So that's his choice, right? Old, wrinkly, but faithful, or smoking hot and cheating on him all the time. She gives him this choice. The knight thought long, and with a piteous groan, at last he said, with all the care in life, my lady and my love, my dearest wife, I leave the matter to your wise decision. You make the choice yourself, for the provision of what may be agreeable and rich, in honor to us both, I don't care which. Whatever pleases you, suffices me. And that's his choice. Here, honey, you choose, you make the call. So he's given his wife, the shriveled lady, the choice of old and faithful, or smoking hot and cheating on him. He gives her the choice. To which she says, and have I won the mastery, said she, since I'm to choose and rule as I think fit? Certainly, wife, he answered her, that's it. Kiss me, she cried, no quarrels on my oath, and word of honor, you shall find me both, that is both fair and faithful as a wife. May I go howling mad and take my life, unless I prove to be as good and true as ever wife was since the world was new. And if tomorrow when the sun's above, I seem less fair than any lady love, than any queen or empress east or west, do with my life and death as you think best. Cast up the curtain, husband, look at me. So that's her choice. She's going to give him both. She's going to be young and smoking hot, but she's also going to be absolutely faithful, to the point where, may I go howling mad and take my life unless I prove to be as good and true as ever wife was since the world was new. So if she ever cheats on him, she'll kill herself. And if tomorrow, when the sun's above, I seem less fair than any lady love, than any queen or empress east or west, do with my life and death as you think best. And if at any point she isn't the single hottest woman on the planet, he can just kill her. So he gets a super faithful wife who happens to be the hottest woman on the planet. This is his consequence for committing rape. And when indeed the knight had looked to see, lo, she was young and lovely, rich in charms, in ecstasy he caught her in his arms. His heart went bathing in a bath of blisses, and melted in 100,000 kisses. And she responded in the fullest measure, with all that could delight or give him pleasure. So they lived in ever to the end, in perfect bliss, and may Christ Jesus send us husbands meek and young and fresh in bed, and grace to overbid them when we wed. And, Jesu, hear my prayer, cut short the lives of those who won't be governed by their wives, and all angry niggards of their pence, God send them soon a very pestilence. Super faithful, smoking hot wife who responded in the fullest measure with all that could delight or give him pleasure. And whatever weird stuff he's into, she's going to go along with it. This is his consequence for committing rape. But did he learn his lesson? By the end, he gives her the power, right? That's the message. Women want power in a relationship, and now at the end of the story, he gives her the power to decide. It just so happens that her decision then absolutely rewards the rapist. As you can tell, I don't really like the end of the story. It pisses me off. My only consolation, in my head, she's a witch, right? She's got these magical powers. Poof, she can transform herself from 24 dancing ladies into a shriveled old lady, back into some smoking hot woman. She's magic. I'd like to think that she's just sort of glamoring up his eyes, so that when he looks at her, he sees the hottest woman on the planet and just thinking to himself, yeah, that's my wife. Meanwhile, when the rest of the world looks at her, I kind of hope they still see the shriveled little old lady, so that at least there's that consolation of everyone giving him that look of... But either way, he still gets the, to his mind at least, the hottest woman who will never cheat on him and never say no to whatever freaky stuff. Do not like the end. But anyway, that's just my take. What do you guys think? Let me know. Hope this helped. Later.